Hello again. I'm back after a couple weeks. Today's episode we're going to show you how to make legs in really tiny flies using squirrel dubbing, and also how to tie a fly called the W-Bead-40. The problem I see with little tiny flies is you don't have legs small enough. If you put any kind of rubber or silicone or anything on the fly, it just completely takes over. You pick up an insect out of the water, you don't go, huh, that's just legs. I'm going to show you a cool way how to do that by just using superfine dubbing and squirrel dubbing. Get superfine dubbing, make a dubbing noodle, wrap it about halfway. In the last half, add squirrel, twist it in there just a little bit, wrap it, pull off the excess, and trim the bottom. And you're done. This fly is called the W-Bead-40. It's a variation of the WD-40 with a glass thorax bead. That bead is a small root beer. It's a transparent bead, so I like using the transparency. Adds a little bit of love to it. The hook is a TMCO 2487. This is a size 16 so that you can see a little bit of detail. Now I put it in the vise a little bit rotated forward, and it's a little easier to tie a WD-40 with the vise like that so that you can see the length of the tail instead of it diving down into the crease behind your hook. So the thread we're using is a Ultra Thread 70 denier tan thread. You're going to start that thread right behind the eye, or right behind the bead there. Ooh. And next thing you're going to grab is some Opal Mirage Flashabou. And just grab a strand of this. And you're going to push that bead back kind of over the thread a little bit as soon as you get there, but you're going to feed the Flashabou underneath the bead. Give yourself a little bit of room back here so that you can grab onto it. And I usually give them 2 wraps. Not real tight wraps, just a couple wraps. And then make sure that is on the side of the hook. Take the other end of your strand of Flashabou and feed it through the other side. I tap the bead to make it a little bit easier to feed that through. So keep that in mind. Give it a couple wraps. Make sure this is on the right side here, and give it a couple of tight wraps. Now, an awesome fly tyer would take this loop and just loop it back and tie it in. You can do that. I find that it's pretty difficult to accomplish. It puts your Flashabou on the wrong side. So I just cut that loop in half, and now I'm going to tie in the individual strands here. And you want a small gap in between the point of the hook and the back of the bead. So, and you can adjust that while you're tying these in. Nice and tight here. Okay, when you get to the point of the hook, grab 2 of these guys and cut them off. We're going to build a really tiny taper in here with this Flashabou. Then you're going to tie down to about, well, you're going to go, I'd say 80% of the fly. Cut these off. And then you're going to tie down to about the 80-degree mark. So at this point we're going to grab a piece of, this is saddle hackle. So we're going to grab about 10 of these barbs off of here, 10 or 15 or so, however many you really want. And just grab, make sure everything's cool. Like all these tips are kind of lined up. Grab the tips and then just tie it in the middle. Doesn't matter where you tie it in, as long as you get a nice tight tie in there. Now we're going to adjust those barbs by just pulling on the ends. Get a nice grip on it and pull it to where it's about the length of the body. I love long tails on WD-40s, and that doesn't change when tying the W-Bead-40. So you're gonna wrap this forward, and you can see the flash kind of show through, but you want this thread to be nice and clean all the way up. You don't want to do that for sure. You just want a nice clean tie-in, because when those start wrapping around and you get lumps in your body, and it's terrible. So right here, if you wanted to put some crystal flash in to kind of stick out the back of this, you could do that. I don't like doing that because it's buggy enough with the squirrel dubbing. So grab your, which is, now you're going to use these guys for a wing case. So grab your wing case and pull it backwards. Put a couple wraps in front of it to keep it kind of out of where you're working. Grab some squirrel dubbing and use more than what you think you're going to use. Usually less is more, but with squirrel dubbing, it's not the case. And just grab a lump of that. I mean, literally, like a lump of it. A lot of it's going to come out here. So wrap this up. Get it to where you think it's good. Just grab that stuff, it'll come off. Because squirrel wants to go straight. It doesn't like being wrapped around a hook. It wants to be a straight line. So after you dub it, give it a couple of whip finishes here, or just one whip finish, it doesn't matter. And then advance your thread over the bead. Now you want to put a whip finish back there so your fly doesn't come untied from behind the bead. You're going to get the rest of that squirrel dubbing. Make another little lump. And these are going to kind of double his legs here. So wrap this forward, and that's about all you need there. Take your wing case, wrap it over the top. And cut this guy off. I typically don't clean up the head too much. Like I said, I like buggy flies, and I think they're more concentrated on the thorax of this fly than they are the eye of the hook. Get that nice and good. Cut your thread off. Now you can just cut all this stuff off the front of the eye here, or leave it. It's up to you. If you don't want to do any work, you can just leave the fly as is. But I like to make this squirrel look like legs. And you'll see how long it is as opposed to how small the fly is. You probably run into problems with trout. Like, hey, that's not right. So just grab this here and start cutting the legs away. You want a nice even spacing there. And then go on the sides. Just trim off whatever is on the sides. Make sure you're all cleaned up. That's it. There's your W-Bead-40. There you have it. That's today's episode. You got 3 flies for the price of 1. That's a good deal in my book. You could spend your whole life just figuring out which color is going to work the best. Keep it simple. Make color combinations of flies that currently work and just kind of go from there. Forget that. Forget I even said anything. Just you didn't see.